Hey everyone, this is Big O, Oscar here, and I just want to make a quick video in my series, the Proxmox series, on how to install Ubuntu 22 server. Basically how to create a virtual machine. It's really easy. There's a few ways to do this. This is the way I did it. Now, basically what you want to do is, once you have your Proxmox set up, you just really hit on create virtual machine. Now you can create a container and do it that way, but I'm not going to do that. So the name here, I'm just going to call it Next Cloud because that's what I'm going to use it for. And the resource pool, I don't have that set up, so it's on the Proxmox node. And then for the operating system, here's where you have different options. For the storage, right now I'm going to pick local because I already have some ISO images downloaded there. Like here's Ubuntu, the server, and Kubuntu. Now there's different ways of getting this information on here. Now, quickly, there's you have the ability to download an ISO image and upload it into the local storage here, and then always have it there available. So if you do different kinds of lab setups, testing, whatever, that's one way to do it. Or you can download an ISO whenever you need it, or you can download the ISO from a website using the URL link. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But for now, since I already have it here, I'm going to click this, hit next. And you know what? I'm going to show you now. I am setting this up with chapters. So go to, there we go, local ISO images. So there's this first way to upload images is we're going to go to storage view, local, which is here, and then ISO images. And here you just hit upload. If you already have it, download your ISO image, select it from wherever you downloaded it, click on it like that one, hit open, and upload basically. And that's one way to do it. Second way to do it is to download from URL. Alright, so I think I got ahead of myself. So to download from a URL, just click on download from URL, type in the URL there, hit query, and it'll get it for you and you just download. Now I bet you're asking yourself, well, where the fuck do I get that link from? The link, you would get it from the website of the OS. For example, let's say we're doing Ubuntu 22 Jammy Jolly Fish. Here's the server install image. We right click on that, get the copy link address, go back to Proxmox, download from URL, do it there, query, boom, done, and download. Now you might be asking yourself, well, why would I do it this way when I could just already just click on download on that website and then, you know, upload it or whatever, do whatever I want? Well, if you do it this way, you don't have to download it to your desktop and then upload it to whatever, or download it to a file server and then upload it to your Proxmox, or download it to a virtual machine, then upload it to another machine, then upload it here. This saves steps in a way. Now some people that have simple setups, very simple labs, whatever, you might be thinking I can just download it and whatever, right? But it saves time. Whatever. That's just how to do it two different ways. So let's continue back to the other stuff that I was showing you. So go to create virtual machine. I'm going to name it Next Cloud. So I already have the image on my local, so it's Ubuntu 22, and the Linux kernel is the latest one, 2.6 or whatever. Linux type, hit next. Usually I always leave this to default and the machine to default. All this pretty much default, and go from there. There might be different reasons to change this and do all this other stuff, but so we're not gonna mess with this. We're not gonna mess with TPM. That's for that encryption for your thing. Windows, it's a Windows thing mostly. We're not gonna do that. For the disk, now here, I most of the time leave this alone, but I am going to install this on my fast array. And the reason why I'm doing it on this one, I have different storage arrays, but the reason I'm doing it on this one is because it's my NVMe's, and those will saturate my 10 gigabyte card, and I get really fast uploads and downloads on that. Now my disk size, for now I'm just going to do 1 terabyte. I don't have I don't need that much space right now, but in the future I'm going to add more stuff to it, so I'm going to leave it like that. Cache, and default it. Now these things here you might want to change. You look up what that means to you. So I am going to use discard though, because it's kind of like trim discard. It's the same kind of thing. I'm not going to go into a detailed explanation on what trim and discard means, but basically it helps to conserve space by either trimming or deleting space that could be used, but it's a long explanation, but in the long run it helps. You should look that up. It's called trim or discard. Look up the definition on that, and you pick that if you want or not, but I'm using it. CPU, well, this is going to be Nextcloud, so I'm going to use 2 sockets, and I'll use 4 cores for each one for now. I think that'll be plenty. I'll leave that as default. Now memory, I'm definitely going to want a bunch of memory on there, so I'm going to put 16 gigs of memory on there. I don't know the exact number of the RAM, so it would be 512, 1024, 2048, I don't know, so I'll just put, there we go. So for the network, I guess I'll just leave it on the bridge. For now, I'll leave it on the virtualized. MAC address, auto, no VLANs on this one. Firewall, no, I already got it on the firewall. Well, I don't even have any firewall instructions set up on this Proxmox yet, but I don't want to have to fight with permissions on this firewall when I already have my own firewall and I'm trying to figure out which one's blocking what. It's a nightmare. But some people like to use firewalls here, and that's fine, but I don't. So next. So here's where we're going to confirm the cores, 4 basically, so it would be with the dual thread it'll be 8. Here's the ISO memory, which is 16 gigabytes. The name of the virtual machine, which is Nextcloud. Virtual networking using the bridge. My node name is Proxmox, that's my entire node. And it's fast. 1024 discard equals on, socket is 2, and that's the ID of my virtual machine. And this here, I always click that. I want this to start as soon as this thing is finished. And there's one other thing I'm going to show you to hit to make sure you hit. So we hit finish. Then I'm going to go back to server view, and that's my 101. So go to here, go to server view, go to your Nextcloud right here, which is the server I just started. That's my my new virtual machine that I just started. And you always want to make sure that hold on a second. Your start at boot is enabled, which is this here under options. Any virtual machine that you always want running, and to come back at a reboot, always start it at boot. That's under options. Yes, because if you do a server reset or your server lose power, or you have a hardware failure and have to turn it off, or some sort of update for whatever reason, you always want this to start at boot. So once we do the start at boot, we want to go back here, and there's 2 ways to get to the console so we can watch it. Either we go to console here and we can see it and use the keyboard there and blah blah blah, or you can just double click here under the server view, double click on Nextcloud, and it opens up this little window. I like to do it this way better, and go from there. You can also SSH into it, but this thing's not ready yet, so we're not going to do that. In English, and here you can update to the new installer, or you can just continue without updating. I'm just going to continue without updating. If you want to update the new installer, that's on you. If you don't, that's whatever. I'm just going to continue. Layout English, yes. Variant English, yes. So if you need something else, that's where you would change it, the language. So we're doing Ubuntu server, and I'm going to use the default one because I am going to log in from time to time. There's another version called the Ubuntu server minimized, where it's mostly everything's automated on it, and there's a lot less things that are installed. But it's a pain because if you need this, you have to install it. If you need that, you have to install it. So I'm just going to do the regular Ubuntu server. So here, the server install process thing is getting a IP address from my firewall router thing, and it got an IP address. I'm going to change it later on, but for now I'm just going to leave it here. So this is, in this step right here, you want to make sure it does this, that it gets an IP address, because if it doesn't, you're not going to be able to connect to anything or do updates and all that other stuff. So here we got it, see? And this tells you the device name that it's using, so it's ENS18. Proxy, I don't have a proxy. If you use a proxy, this is where you enter it. I don't have one. Don't change this unless you know what you're doing, but this is a mirror address where your server is going to get updates from. This is the main one. There's other ones that it can use, other mirrors and alternatives or whatever, but this is the default one. Now you can change it, but I wouldn't if you don't know what you're doing or what the hell a mirror is. No, it's not the mirror where you look and see reflection, and no, it's not the mirror where you watch a scary show on Netflix. Here's where you can customize the install. You can use the entire disk, or you can, you know, do different changes to it, encrypt it, things like that. It defaults to use an entire disk, so that's what I always do. For servers, I'll usually almost always use entire disk. Gives you a summary of what we're doing. I'll quickly go over this. So this is telling you this is using a logical volume extension for complicated explanation, and this is the boot partition, 2 gigs. Now this here is the amount of space. This is 1021 gigabytes, which is basically 1 terabyte. So basically we have 921 terabytes of free space because of the other stuff is using for different mount points. Again, it's just a recap of the spaces that we already mentioned. So partition 1 is going to be the grub, other stuff. It's complicated to explain, but it's just a summary. You don't have to worry about it. Here's like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Because this is final. We're going to start doing it. Yes. Now here is where you would pick whatever login name you want to use to get in there. And I usually pick, depending on the server and what I'm doing, I'll usually pick different names. So for here, I'm going to use that name as in the example. And make sure you use a password that's going to be complicated password. And by complicated, I mean long. And has symbols, capitalizations, and all that jazz, because this is going to be, when I'm done with the server, it's going to be live. It's going to have direct access to the internet. Now if you're doing a private server and it doesn't have immediate access to the internet, as far as people being able to try and attack it all the time easily, then you could maybe get away with lax security, which I never do, but I'm just saying you could technically. But if you have a way of interfacing with it directly from the internet, which Nextcloud does when it's properly set up, pick a really strong password, because you're going to have bots trying to hit it, other people trying to hit it, Russia trying to hit it, Chinese trying to hit it, etc. Pick a good strong password. There's a way to mitigate that and protect that, but it's just in good practice. You always want the strongest password you can remember or do. Here is talking about if you want to install OpenSSH server. In the long run, you want this because once you start trying to do SSH into the server, if you don't have this installed and the server's running, you're not going to be able to SSH into it, because then this installs your keys and stuff like that, your certificates. They just want to have it. Might as well just do it now. This, you can install this, and now it says, oh yeah, you can install Nextcloud here, la 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 la, and you could do it that way, but I like this installs it the way it wants to, and there's a lot less control over how it's the process, so I don't like doing it that way. But you can do it that way. It's called Snap, a Snap environment. I don't like doing it that way. If you want to do it that way, that's on you, but it's a whole different video. We're done with that part, and it starts doing it. And this part takes about, depending on your system, 5-10 minutes, 15 at the most, what I've normally seen. Now, there's a part here that says cancel, update, and reboot. What that means is that your installation is going to download updates while it's installing. That can add more time to the install process. It can add another 5 to 10 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on your internet speed, and maybe an hour when it's downloading updates. So you can always hit cancel the update and just go ahead and finish installing and reboot. And then you can go ahead and do updates when you have more time, or you're finished setting up your initial setup of the server. Since my internet is fast and I have time, I'm just going to let it do its thing and let it download some security updates and stuff like that. And then I'll show you here what it does when it's done, or how it looks. Okay, so the install is done. So what we're going to do now is reboot it. So before we reboot it, what I like to do is I like to go back to the Proxmox. So, and I'll go to hardware under my cloud here that I'm working on, and then I'll go to the CD/DVD drive, which has my ISO in it. Double click on it, and then just put do not use any media and hit OK. The reason why we want to remove that is because once we reboot the server here, the install is going to start the reading from the hard drive itself. If we leave that ISO in there, it's going to read from that again and start the whole install all over again. Now that's not going to hurt anything, it's just annoying because if you restart it and don't do this step, it's going to keep going in a circle. You're going to be like, what the hell is going on? So once we have to remove that ISO from there. And some systems you can just change the boot order and the when the computer restarts, you hit the escape, or you can hit F12 or whatever. There's different ways of doing that. See, like right here it says failed unmounting CD-ROM. I already did that. So yeah, so hit enter to continue, and then it's gonna reboot. And that's pretty much it. So we're done with the Ubuntu install. It's that easy. Please like, share, subscribe, and all that. I'm trying to create my have more followers. I do all kinds of videos, get into all kinds of stuff, tech stuff, puzzles, things like that. It's more, I blog a lot, so please follow me. I need more followers, more friends. If you have any questions about any of this, I am an intermediate user of Linux. I'm not an expert, I'm not a beginner, right in the middle. So if you have any questions, whatever, leave me a comment, or if not, I'll put a link to my Discord so we can talk there or whatever. I'm not an expert. I'll try and help you what I can. Follow me, love, thank you, love, all that.
Please like and subscribe.